And thank you and welcome in Strategies for a Living on this Monday, February the 4th, 2019. I'm Tom Pace, your co-host, guest strategist for David McMillan. I've been blessed to be able to host this last semester, this semester as well. We like to bring those people that are interesting, have a story to tell to your homes. Welcome in. We're live from the Bossier Parish Community College Telecommunications Studio, high top building D. Outside, can you believe we're almost up to 70 degrees today from whatever we had, and heaven forbid that we should have it again, but it will be by Friday. The good news is that we do have a nice day today, a little fog, a little mist, but other than that, it's good. Before we get to our first guest, yes, in case anybody watched the, whatever you want to call that bowl last night, you saw it. It was the lowest scoring, as they refer to it, Super Bowl, ever in the history. 13-3, the Patriots overshadowed the Los Angeles Rams. And if anybody had an issue with that, you can take it up with Roger Goodell. So that's the rest of the story. I'm not going to beat that horse. We've already been there, done that, and I guess probably got a couple of t-shirts maybe. Welcome in. Today, a very interesting show. One, because it deals with student life and student activities at Bossier Parish Community College. Two, it deals in the students' lives. If they're having issues in their personal life, maybe they're having issues in the classroom, and they don't know who to turn to. Sometimes you might have issues at home, and you can't talk to your parents, or you feel awkward about doing that. Then what has traditionally been, you just kind of suffer through it. But this year, there is a new person on staff. She is called a campus counselor. Her name is Carrie Coley.
Hi.
Hi there, Miss Carrie, welcome in.
Thank you.
And did I get it right? You're kind of a therapist?
I am a therapist. I've been a therapist for about 8 years. I'm originally from Mississippi, but I've spent the last 14 and a half years in New Orleans. So as you're talking about that little ball game that we're not going to talk about
That's right.
anymore, I do have that t-shirt of, we can let that go, I guess. But but yes, I am a therapist. I've been a therapist there for the last 8 years.
You were an LPC?
I am an LPC.
You are an
I'm an LPC.
Tell everybody what an LPC is.
I'm a licensed professional counselor, and one of my specialties, if not my specialty, is PTSD. I've been what they call a trauma therapist for the last 8 years. I've always done trauma, and that's just kind of who I am. So.
And so let me get this straight. They've never had this position really here at Bossier Parish Community College.
Not for a very, very long time. And so basically we're starting from the ground up again, which is super exciting for me. And lots of work, of course, on that end. But so very excited to be here at Bossier Parish Community College. And the family of BPCC has been just amazing and wonderful. And I'm just really excited to be here.
Carrie Coley, now, we've seen trauma all across the United States,
yes.
At various schools, you name it, and everybody says the same thing. I can't believe it happened in my little community.
Right.
And heaven forbid that we should ever have anything happen in our communities as Shreveport, Bossier. But in this case, BPCC has taken a very unique position to have somebody here who is forewarned is forearmed.
Right, and that was one of the things when they interviewed me was they were looking for somebody who is what they call trauma informed. And because of that is because when you are trauma informed, you're basically informed on the gamut of mental health issues because trauma causes so much depression, anxiety, personality disorders, things of that nature, PTSD, of course, being a big one. But and so that was one of the things that they were looking for. And so I'm able to come in and kind of help our students be very successful, but also be on the front lines of some preventative work, so to speak, for crisis. BPCC has already done an amazing job of having, we have an amazing police force, if you don't know yet, and we have an amazing student life vice chancellor who is very proactive in what do we need to do. And I am all about saying an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so they have already got so many things laid out and policies and procedures laid out before I even got here. I'm just kind of part of that procedure.
And the good news is now you're able to take your part, plug it in, and then all of a sudden, say a student is having issues.
Yes.
We know what many times, sad to say, that many times students get depressed, they get bullied on Facebook and other media now at home, and they're afraid to talk to anybody.
Right.
So can they talk to you?
That is my job. That is why I'm here. I am here for the student. I'm not here for the employees. We have a great program for that outside the walls. I am here strictly for the student. For them, if they are sad, if they're depressed, if they are unusually happy and they don't know why and they feel like they could just go fly off the building and they're like, Carrie, I feel like I could go fly off a building. Please come see me, because that is not necessarily normal or good. But I am here for them. I am here to help them be successful and to help them succeed as a student and out in the community as well when they're done at BPCC.
So it is Carrie Coley. She is the campus counselor now, a brand new position she just started this year in January at Bossier Parish Community College. She came by way of one of the students here in the communications division who said, have you already got all your guests? And I said, well, not really. I have some lined up. By the way, our chancellor, Dr. Rick Bateman, will be here on January 25th. We have arranged for Chancellor Bateman to be here. Next week, we're going to have a young lady with Jerry Bowen, who is the executive director of the Family Justice Center, is going to be here. Dodie Horton, state representative, is going to be here on the 18th.
Wonderful.
So we already have quite a bit of February, but whenever she said to me, what about a guest? I said, I'm open for that. So now you are here. Let me ask exactly, is it confidential when they come to see you?
Absolutely. We have a referral process with our faculty and our staff so that they refer students to me, or students can self-refer. They can just come in and see me if they need to. But once they walk through that door and once they're referred, it is completely confidential. There are 3 things that leave my office. They tell me they're going to hurt themselves, hurt somebody else, or there's been recent elder or child abuse. Those things I have to report by law. Everything else is completely confidential, which leads to the safety of why they want to come see me. You know, they can say what they want to say in my padded room. People have told me for years, Tom, that I needed a padded room. I just had to come to BPCC to get one. And so when I got here, they had put soundproofing all over my walls, and it is actually a foam padding. And so we call it the padded room. And so they can come in and scream and just let it all hang out. And I'm there to help them put the pieces back together.
Do you have the little Nerf things that they can hit with?
I actually do. I have lots of tools in my office. I have silly putty, I have lotion, I have balls, I have dolls, I have all sorts of things in my office. Anything you need that can help you process your story.
So, Ms. Carrie,
Yes.
The next question would be, what is the biggest issue that's facing kids? Is it the feeling of inadequacy? Is it the feeling of they're not measuring up to their expectations? Or is someone picking on them?
I think it's all of the above, Tom. I think you can't just nail down, hey, this is the one thing that is going on. I think on our college campuses, one of the things we cannot leave out is alcohol and drugs. It's so prevalent across our college campuses, across the nation today, and so we want to hit that head on so that you don't start down that road. But also bullying, cyberbullying is a big deal. But oftentimes...
Even in college?
Absolutely. You are not immune to it when you get to college. But one of the big things in college is the pressure. It's a big deal, and a lot of our students, they may be the first person in their family to ever go to college, and that's a lot of pressure. And so it's not only their expectations they're trying to meet, but it's the expectations of others that they are trying to meet. And sometimes that gets to be a little overwhelming and you just don't know what to do with that. And so that's where I get to come in and say, hey, take the pressure off and let's just be you.
It sounds like that's Pollyanna. Great, just be you.
It's not, no.
I was going to say, while that sounds like, well, I can fix this, put this round peg in this round hole here, and it's fixed.
No.
But PTSD is a whole nother animal.
It's a whole nother animal. And the great thing about what we've done here at BPCC is I am constantly working in our community to find those therapists out in our community who are well-versed in those mental disorders like depression, anxiety, PTSD, things of that nature, alcohol and drugs, anything, because I only see our students for a brief time. I have them for maybe 1 to 6 sessions. It's my job to get them back to almost a balance. And then I send them and refer them to somebody in our community that I trust so they can fully work on their story, because it does take time.
And that goes right thrust to Perry. The fact of the matter is that you're almost like a referral service.
Yes, I am. I'm a referral service with a really big Band-Aid.
What a great deal. I like that, because quite honestly, we all need a Band-Aid from every now and then, and we need, and I've said this for many, many years, and soon to be 72 years, there's one thing that everybody wants, but nobody wants to admit, and that's help. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. One of the hardest things that anybody can do is ask for help. I struggle with it. I don't do well with that. I think I can do it on my own, pull up my bootstraps. But there comes a point in time that you just have to ask for help. And my job in asking for help is to stop the bleeding. I stop the bleeding, I triage them, and then I get them to the surgeon and to the doctor and to whoever that can really help them heal.
Now, you see, you bring up a good point, because, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you stop and think about this position of campus counselor at Bossier Parish Community College, what they have done, what Dr. Bateman and those in the hierarchy up here have done, is they've recognized a situation that would need to be addressed in the event something catastrophic happened. Now, there are times, and I guess I'm going to bring up the 500-pound elephant in the room. Many times students have taken their own lives.
Students have taken their lives, and suicide is a big deal. And this is where the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And BPCC has done a great job in recognizing that the needs of their students is so high, and they want them to succeed so well that they have taken steps to get them what they need, so that maybe that is just not where they need to be.
I got about 2 minutes, maybe 3. What is the reason, and I'm sure there's number, is there one reason why one would feel so inadequate that they would want to take their own life?
There's so many reasons, Tom. You can't nail down just one. From shame is a really big deal in our society. We can't say it enough that they do something or something has happened to them, and the shame of that weighs so heavily on them that they just don't want to face life anymore. Sometimes it is just strictly a chemical thing. Something is going on inside their brain, something is going on inside their body that they don't know what's going on, and so that chemical mesh up kind of causes them to lean that way.
Robin Williams, good example of that.
Great example of that.
I'm telling you.
But a lot of times it is what is going on in our lives, it is what's going on that we say, you know what, number one, the world would be better off without me, or I would be better off just gone. And the truth is that is a lie. That is not truth, because there is nothing worth taking your life, because what suicide is it is like throwing a boulder in a really big pond. And that ripple, when you throw a stone in a pond, there's ripples, right? And we call it the first wave is kind of the tsunami, and that's your immediate family and those. But there is not a bank of that pond that suicide does not touch. That it does not touch, from children to parents to friends to whoever. And that is what we want to prevent.
So Carrie Coley, C-O-L-E-Y, is the campus counselor here at Bossier Parish Community College. Miss Carrie, is there a way to get in touch with you?
Yes, if you need me, the best way to get me is probably by email, and that is ccoley@bpcc.edu. And you can also reach me by phone in my office at 678-6476.
Ms. Carrie, God bless you and continue to do your great work.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you. All right, well, it is Strategies for Living. It was a pretty heavy subject, but it's one that needs to be addressed, and to see that BPCC is doing that under the umbrella of helping their students be more well mentally, as well as sometimes physically as well. So stand by. We're going to take a quick time out, and when we return, I've got Mr. RaShad Bristow. If you've never heard of him, he's the one-armed man, not from The Fugitive, but believe it or not, he's got a story to tell. He is a motivational speaker and an author. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go away. Strategies for Living. I'm Tom Pace, and for therapist and family strategist David McMillan. Don't go away.
Type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone. It comes in all shapes, sizes, different colors, forms.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet, it's not caused by anything you did.
Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
I ended up in the hospital for some 2 weeks.
My biggest fear for myself is losing my vision.
My biggest fear of T1D today, this disease will probably be what kills me.
It's not always predictable.
It's constant worry to be in charge of my daughter's health. I go in multiple times to make sure she's still breathing and that her heartbeat is still there.
It just never gives you a second off, really.
It is hard, but with friends, family pushing me every day to be strong, that's what helps me get along.
I do have a lot of highs and a lot of lows. It's not easy to explain. It's not easy to just take out my meter and check my sugar in front of everyone. And
I think my biggest accomplishment is probably getting used to all the shots and finger sticks.
Prick my finger a lot. I prick my finger every time I check my blood, and that's over 8-10 times a day.
And it's an everyday thing that we have to do to live in the world and survive.
It is so frustrating that there are so many misconceptions about T1D, and people think that it's not a constant struggle, but it is.
My biggest dream definitely is to find a cure.
My dream for T1D is to have no diabetes when I go to college.
There will be a cure for this. I don't know that I believed that when I was first diagnosed, and I think we're close. We just need to keep that momentum going.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help JDRF find a cure.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
Tom Pace, your guest strategist, if you will, hosting Strategies for Living here from Bossier Parish Community College, the telecommunications, the communications division, the big studio in Building D. It's your Monday, and what do they say? Rainy days and Mondays get me down. Well, it's not really been rainy, and it's a Monday, and I'm blessed. And I'm blessed for two reasons. Carrie Coley was here giving us inspiration, and another man is sitting to my left, your right as you're watching. His name is RaShad Bristow. RaShad is a well-known motivational speaker. He is an author. Here it is, and we'll do this. Doing More with Less. Doing More with Less. It's his book. And you look at something like this and you go, what does that mean? Doing more with less. RaShad, welcome in.
Thank you for having me,
I would
Tom.
shake your right hand, but you don't have one.
No. Left hand will be sufficient for today.
Well, but I mean, you are a man of God.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that, and I joked about, you're like the one-armed man. You remember The Fugitive?
Right.
Have you ever been called a one-armed man before?
You know what? Most of the time it's me calling myself the one-armed man. I always like to make light of it to let people know, hey, sometimes I am the fugitive. I'm identified when nobody else is identified, especially when I walk into a room.
You know, and that's another thing that a lot of people might not know about RaShad. In the United States, the only law enforcement officer certified to wear a badge to carry a gun in the United States of America. RaShad, you were that man.
Yes, sir. I was a man. I was the first one in the country to ever do that.
And you had to be adept at using the PR-25, that thing that goes around their neck?
The PR-24.
24?
Yes, sir, sure was.
And you can reload with one arm?
Yes, sir, reload a firearm, a pistol or a shotgun, whatever was required of me.
You know, that takes belief in yourself and a belief that you can overcome and you can become anything. Is that fair?
That's fair to say. And also, I contribute a lot to my family matriarch. Growing up with my grandparents, I had family that never told me what I could not do. They did not have pity on me just based upon the physical disability that you see, but they realized that life wasn't going to be easy on me, and they weren't either. So the expectation was high, and I had to fulfill that expectation. I had to mow the yard, trim hedges, weed eat, do any kind of work that any able-bodied person would be able to do, because they didn't want to see me fall a victim to my disability. Otherwise, then I would have 2 disabilities.
And so let's go straight to it. We have about 5-6 minutes. So doing more with less, you're a motivational speaker, and you're a published author.
Yes, sir.
What is the one message? You just heard Miss Coley a moment ago, Carrie, talking about having to deal with bullying and things like that. Have you ever dealt with something like that?
Yes, I've dealt with bullying from both aspects. I was bullied, and I also became a bully also.
Wait a minute. You became a bully?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did. I used to wear a prosthetic limb that had a hook on the end of it. And one day I messed around, and some kids were teasing me, and just so happened, I do talk about this in my book, we ended up into a physical altercation. And with that hook, I was able to take advantage of the situation, and I developed a reputation for not being messed with behind that hook. So at that time, I went from being a victim of a bully to become a bully because I had something I've been looking for, respect. I was not going about it by the right means, but I think everybody wants to feel a part of something special. And at that time, I was accepted, and it was kind of easy to let that aggravation go, because I was basically venting back at those and retaliating in a different way for those that were taking advantage of me prior to.
So you had been bullied, and so consequently you felt like, okay, I'm going to fight back.
Exactly.
Even if it wasn't necessarily fair.
Even though it wasn't necessarily fair, but it was something that I did do until I came to myself.
All right. In your book, Doing More with Less, is there summing it up in about 2 or 3 minutes, and you're such a great man, what would be the one takeaway you want kids to know, you want people to know that are watching this? It's on Suddenlink cable channel 12. There's, I know, a 3-parish area that this covers. What is the takeaway you want people to know?
Well, the takeaway is I want everyone to know life's experiences will make you either one of 2 ways, either bitter or better. But doing more with less, oftentimes that's really what, no matter what aspect of life you're in, whether it be at home, employment, or whatever the case may be, you're asked to do more with less. I took it upon the physical labeling of myself because that's what I wanted to do. But Tom, everybody has something about them that makes them different but unique, and it's that uniqueness that defines us. So doing more with less is finding that uniqueness, build up on that uniqueness, and let that uniqueness be the thing that defines you for being special, standing out, standing up, and standing strong.
And standing for yourself.
Yes.
Many times, and I think Ms. Coley had a good point, many times we feel inadequate.
Right.
What is there, and I'm not going to say there's a magic bullet, but what would you say is a way to help us overcome feel inadequate?
I believe it's 3 things. First of all, it's going to be imagination. You have to imagine yourself beyond your situation. Second thing is support, where people can include you. And then the third thing is just the aspiration, just aspire to be great despite the circumstances, because that's the thing that really is the most rewarding.
In school, do you feel like many times students think of it as a labor instead of it being an opportunity?
I do, but again, it boils down to, Hillary Clinton said it best in '93, it takes a village to raise a child. When you have people who are a strong support system around you that help you to develop those your abilities, then you're able to grow forward.
I see that, I feel it after nearly 72 years. I felt inadequate when I was growing up. I was a little bitty kid with big ears. And I felt that. My name's Tommy Glenn. I didn't like that, so I changed my name to Tom. Now, I can embrace Tommy. I mean, but that gives you an example of how the feelings of inadequacy can happen.
It does, and I'll say this, being born with one arm now has opened up more doors for me than I ever would have thought it would have been. The very thing that I thought was a disability has turned out to be my greatest advantage.
When you walk into a room, what's the first thing you do?
I always introduce myself and I try to make people feel comfortable because I do realize sometimes being in the presence of someone with a disability makes them feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, probably from some previous exposure.
And so consequently, you disarm, pardon the pun,
Good example.
you disarm them by saying, hey, look at me.
Well, I make light of it because usually I know by ethics I'll always shake hands and I'll be funny and I say, excuse my left hand. Knowing that there is only one left hand, but by social ethics, you're not supposed to shake with the right hand.
But it's okay because you're okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
And you don't expect special treatment because you have only one arm.
Not by far.
Not by far.
Not by far.
Was your daddy your biggest motivator, or your grandfather?
Yes, sir. My grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother, they were the three biggest cheerleaders I had in my arena.
I tell you what, the time's gotten away. RaShad, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
God
for having
bless
the
you.
time.
And ladies and gentlemen, be with us next Monday because we're going to have a very special lady, Jerry Bowen. She's the executive director of the Family Justice Center, a large part sponsored by the DA Skylar Marvin. I'm Tom Pace on behalf of David McMillan, Strategies for Living. May you have the best day ever. God bless.